This kind of high energy because there's a lot of people that don't get to go to these shows that often.
I usually say something like, this is one of the coolest shows you're ever going to see.
Hopefully this plate is lit.
It was electric and exciting.
Sometimes it is like off the wall and it's just going, wait, what are they doing?
People get really into it, and I think as an MC you can do a lot to sort of train the crowd like how to react to things. If you're like encouraging that loud, like excited behavior, then people stay loud, people stay excited.
It's easier to take them to smaller shows where things get a little bit raunchier.
And if it's a bar show, you kind of get this down and dirty kind of Coyote Ugly feel.
It's positive, it's sexual, it's powerful.
For like Tuesday Teas, it's chill. We get there about an hour before the show. Everybody's getting ready. We're telling jokes backstage. I mean, burlesque dancers, we seem like these majestic creatures, and we're all like peacocks and beautiful diamonds. We get backstage and it's a bunch of dick jokes, honestly. Or at least a bunch of me telling dick jokes. I think I bring the dick jokes. So if I'm there, there will be dick jokes.
And it feels comfortable because you're kind of on the same level as your audience. And so it's more of a personal kind of atmosphere. You know, they're this far away from you.
For me, it's always like unpredictable. I never know what I'm gonna see.
It's busy. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Like everybody's performing and stage managing and kittening, and we're all pulling our weight.
We have like aerial artists coming into some of these shows now, and so you never know what you're gonna see.
And I feel like them seeing it on a stage and realizing that it's more about creativity and fun.
How an audience reacts to you is how you react to an audience, and there's this trust built.
We call it church, sort of, sometimes, because I think we get that kind of spiritual uplifting when we share space.
When I get on stage, it's autopilot.
Usually, like, don't trip, because of the giant heels.
A lot of oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Just try not to fall on my face mostly, because I've tripped a couple times, especially I'll do some chair drops. And I'm like, don't die. And then it would end and I would be like, that was so great. But I don't know.
Trying to split my mind and like watch the audience and interact as well as dance and take things off correctly.
I really enjoy the stage being on the same level as the audience. You get to interact more. It gets a little more personal.
Especially with eye contact when I'm in venues where I can make eye contact, that can be a really powerful, like crackling energy kind of thing.
The more energy I get from the audience, the better performance I give.
This used to be my like close guarded, nobody can know secret. Because I'm awful at making sex faces. The biggest part of burlesque is to make it visually appealing for the audience. Like, ooh, I'm touching myself. See, that's my actual sex face. I'm like, no. My secret actually is I pretend each one of the audience members has my favorite food in their pocket. And that if I get naked enough, maybe they will take the food out of their pocket and give it to me. So for example, like, is that tiramisu? Ooh, steak? Just for me? Oh, you shouldn't have. Did you bring a Snickers? Oh, Snickers.
Being a good host, it's about not talking too fucking much because the show is not about you. And I think that sometimes people forget that because you get up there and you have a microphone in your hand and you're just like talking. But it's your job to keep the audience engaged. It's your job to make sure that the performers get all of the glory and try to keep the show on pace.
There have definitely been times where I did things I did not plan at all and didn't remember until I was watching the videotape of me doing it, going, when did I do that dance move? I don't remember that. Sometimes I go and I'll hang out with the crowd, and sometimes I will just floor work or do something on the chair or add something else to the routine, kind of depending on what feels right at that moment. I try not to make things too choreographed, but I don't let it completely loose either. So there's some structure, but there's also, some fluidity and some space for movement and whatever might happen. In one of my routines, I wrap out of I come out of ace bandages. That's my transition routine as a trans person, as I rub out of chains and ace bandages and I start twirling rainbow flags and I bend over backwards. And I like to shoot the ace bandages into the crowd and I just have to go collect them later. And I like to, the last one unravels from around my chest, so I usually hand it to somebody and then just spin out and hold it up like that and then let it go, or I'll kick it down with my foot.
You know, I come into a space whenever I'm on stage where I leave who I ever was. At the curtain, I leave who I used to be and who I ever was, and I step completely into this mindset that I want to shock an audience and inspire the ones who aren't shocked.
I'm peeling the skin off my face, 'cause I really hate being safe. The normals, they make me afraid. The crazies, they make me feel sane. I'm nuts, baby, I'm mad.
I want to make sure that at least one person is confused sexually by the time I get off stage. And also, I want to make sure that somebody comes up to me and says, I really want to do what you do.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, chance you stupid hoe. Tick tock, 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 tick tock.
I was always that weird kid going to like punk rock shows and concerts and stuff, and like, you know, scrounging up all the money that I made that week at my retail job, trying to meet this band that I had been, you know, idolizing for, you know, years, and then I finally get to meet them, and then I get to say, like, you inspired me so much to do this. It's kind of like you're creating this legacy. I now have this torch of inspiration. It's a legacy.
What you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting for? What you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting for?
My favorite quote that I tell myself right before I go on is, "You're a fool whether you dance or not, so you might as well dance." I have to breathe into myself. I am here, I am now. For me, that always gives myself permission to fuck it up. Whatever happened, whether it was good or bad, you just kind of have to leave it there. Most of the time I'm thinking, don't fall over. You know, I do a lot of turning and spinning. If you fall over, that's it. Everyone saw it. I really do envy people who say that they can kind of go into a meditative yogic state where, you know, they don't process really what's happening. They just in the zone, doing their thing. Are people liking me? Are they reading my energy? I feed off of hearing people scream and seeing people smile.
I have horrible stage fright. At my very first show, during the rehearsal, before anybody was actually in the theater, just an empty theater, I fainted, and then I threw up immediately after waking up from fainting. If that tells you any level of nervousness that I started out with.
She moves through moonbeams slowly.
It's certainly gotten better, but I definitely struggle with it a lot. So I used some advice that my mom gave me when I was training for marathons, which was to trust my training.
She moves through moonbeams slowly. She knows just how to hold me. And when her edges soften, her body is my coffin. Love me dead. Wow.
So if I know that I have put in the rehearsal time, I've done the studio time, I've gotten critiques. If I've done all the work that I know needs to be done to make a good act, then I trust that before I go on stage. I let my body do the work. It's basically muscle memory at that point. And I just try to really put my personality out on stage. When you're thinking too much about your choreography, it's hard to look genuine. And for me, I just want to really be vulnerable and sincere.